Welcome back to Division I Rejects. I'm Kobe Manzo, your host, and football is certainly back. It's not back on Saturdays yet because we just haven't got there yet, literally, but it's Thursday night as I'm recording this, and we've got football being played, right at this moment. So we're going to try and get into a groove over here of, on these Thursday or Friday episodes as they are released, of previewing all the Saturday matchups for you guys, going through and trying to find the best games for you to watch and who to look for, all the idiot, all that stuff. But right now, obviously, is a weird week because there's football being played right now. So I'm going to be joined by Jimmy Martin here, who you guys know is a familiar face of the show. We're going to talk about all things D2 and D3 football for not only what's going on right now, but also this weekend, what's going on, what you need to know. But like I said, give us a little bit of grace because this is the first week. There's football being played right now, so I'm checking live stats as I'm recording this intro of some games being played out west that I'm trying to follow along with. But that's the main gist of this episode. It's episode 124, recording this on August 31st. It's September tomorrow when this comes out. That means football season is back. It's getting a little chilly out. The leaves are changing colors. Sun's setting earlier. I don't know. Fall, man. It's amazing. It's like the best time of the year. Football is in the air. But week one game previews for Division II and Division III football, like I talked about, that'll be in this episode. And then obviously some Thursday night, some live recaps or some live stat checkings, I guess, from us, talking about all the games going on right now. We've watched a good bit of football already. Still a lot more to come this weekend. But, it's going to be a pretty short episode because life's just been crazy, but we're going to roll with it. Still got some great coverage for you tonight. I appreciate you all tuning in. As always, if you're watching this episode on YouTube, use the timestamps, chapters below to fast forward to any part of the conversation. I'll try and use a couple of them, but there might not be many for tonight's episode. You can listen pretty much anywhere, though. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. Follow us on the socials. Make sure you're getting the updates on these games when stuff's going on. And then, obviously, subscribe on YouTube. Please, just do it already. You're watching. It's like half the battle. Just hit a button. It's free. It doesn't cost you nothing. But enough of that. I appreciate you tuning in. This will probably be all you'll hear from me after our conversation with Jimmy here, but let's go right to that. Talk about some D2, some D3 ball. Joining us tonight in the first of what should be a lot of fun week previews, week recaps, all those things, D2, D3 football, the man, Jimmy Martin's back. What's going on, brother? Love the shirt.
Thank you. Shout out to Kobe for the shirt.
Looks good. We're going to start with some D2 ball. We'll move our way into D3. Now, this week is obviously going to be weird because we've got games going on right now. So usually that would look like us previewing all of this weekend's matchups and then coming back on Monday and kind of giving our thoughts after a little bit of time to kind of sit on those games and those type of things. But, there's some big-time games going on right now, I guess the biggest of which being Grand Valley State. They're out at Colorado School of Mines right now. Number 2 versus number 4 or 2 versus 3, depending on which rankings you look at. I guess the big points before we go into what's happening right now in the game, the GVSU defense in this one with a chance to come out and really establish themselves in their season opener against the reigning Harlan Hill winner and John Matoka. He gets his favorite target back in McLeod on the outside, that receiver who has already made some ridiculous catches in that one. I had that up on one of my monitors. Definitely, heading into this game was looking for GVSU run game to get things going early. They get back Tariq Reed, who kind of got his feet wet in the transfer portal and then came back, the all-conference running back for them. He's running behind 2 reigning all-conference offensive linemen in Jordan Davis and Garrett Carroll. So that offensive front for GV is something that I thought was going to propel them ahead early, to be honest with you. And you look at the game right now, Colorado Mines just scored again, Jimmy. They're up 21-7 in the third quarter with 10 minutes left.
Wow.
This is a game that has been very interesting.
Obviously,
super back and forth, big plays both offensively and defensively.
Yeah, and this is definitely a statement game. You're talking about how you're going to start your season, in obviously a huge top 5 matchup in Division II.
Absolutely, man.
Establish yourself nationally with your reputation.
Yeah. Right now, looking at some of these stats, Cade Peterson's got 100 yards. John Matoka's already at 219 passing yards in this one. So he has started to explode here. And Mines is really starting, especially through the air. They've got 18 catches, 15 first downs, and they're averaging over 5 yards per carry on the ground. So their offense is clicking here at the beginning of the second half. Not only that, you talk about a defense that actually led Division II in sacks last year. Did not realize that Mines held that. They've already got 3 or 4 of them tonight, and they all came at very critical points in this game. looking at this, I know they've got, at least 2 or 3 different sacks from that Mines defense tonight. The most recent touchdown was from Matoka to Landon Walker, a 34-yard touchdown, looks like. Pretty impressive, dude. Like you said, that would be a hell of a statement game for Colorado out there, man.
Certainly. I mean, obviously going up 21-7, it's obviously game's nowhere near over, especially with a team like Grand Valley breathing down your neck all night, so.
Yeah, and that was kind of the big question mark, too, is like, what is this offense going to look like? You lose your top 2 pass catchers, one of them to Texas A&M, I believe, and the other to Vanderbilt, 2 all-conference, all-region, potential all-American selections. What are you going to do? How are you going to replicate that production? Grand Valley seemingly trying to figure that out right now. Still a little bit of ball left to play, so definitely not going to count them out yet, like you said. But we'll keep tabs on that as we move forward here for sure.
Live updates.
Absolutely, it's kind of fun. But looking at probably the next best matchup of this week, that being number 12 Ashland at number 16 IUP. Indiana University, Pennsylvania takes the upset 24-17 over the Eagles from Ashland. And that is one that I've talked a bit about Ashland on this program. You lose your head coach, lose your starting quarterback, lose a lot of pieces offensively, your best linebacker, the core of your defense. And there's a lot of question marks about the Eagles heading into this year. Still, though, a really reputable performance up against the number 16, one of the best squads in the country in IUP. We just had the chance to have Karst Hunter on the show last week. He was today 12 for 21, 220 yards, 3 tuds. Did have 2 interceptions, though. So definitely not a perfect stat line, but he was slinging it.
He's out there slinging it. Hey, I hear, 12 completions for 200-something yards?
Yeah, dude, what is that average?
He's throwing the ball downfield, it sounds like. So, this guy's got a good arm. Must have a pretty decent arm on him. So.
Absolutely, man. And I think a kind of a big piece here is looking at the box score out of this one. Larry Martin, the starting running back from Ashland, 14 carries for only 53 yards, and one of those went for 30 yards. You take that out of the equation, the other 13 carries equated to 23 yards on the day for Larry Martin, who is a pretty premier running back at the Division II level. IUP, the Falcons, they shut him down, or the Crimson Hawks, excuse me. They shut him down today. I'm assuming that's a big part of why this Ashland offense could not get going.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it must be starting obviously up front a little bit too. But I mean, expect Larry to bounce back. I mean,
absolutely. He's a guy that will. You can certainly minimize production of running backs on any given day, but you can never count them out, especially if you have a playmaker like that. But looking at some just overall stats, I mean, you look at overall total yardage. 366 yards from IUP, pretty respectable. They held Ashland to 189 total yards of offense in this one.
Wow.
And it was still a very competitive game, so give credit to Ashland. They lose by 7 points. It's a 1-score game.
Yeah, but I tip the cap though. 189 yards, that's
absolutely
some clash right there.
They had about 10 minutes more time of possession. They did generate 3 turnovers, had a score off one of those turnovers, and really just feels like they filled up the stat book. Probably a good first outing for Karst to get comfortable in that system. The 2 interceptions, I'm sure you want to take away. The rushing game, nothing too crazy for IUP. Couple receivers. Laney, number 81 for IUP. He had 3 catches, 106 yards. How about that for the kid?
Sheesh, that's like what, 35 yards ago?
That's a day. He had a long of 74 with 52 yards after contact, or yards after catch, excuse me. That's pretty impressive. So some big-time stats when it comes to IUP and their passing attack. Otherwise, looking at some games tonight, some scores. I'll go ahead and refresh it here just to try and see if we can't get some updated ones. Bemidji State is putting a whooping on Northern State right now, 46-13 in some NSIC action. Looking down here, East Stroudsburg is totally handling Pace University, 55-9. We've got a great one. Would that be MEC play between Bloomsburg and Fairmont State, tied up at 24 in the 4th quarter. And then some more NSIC action. Minot State is up on Southwest Minnesota, 17-14. Delta State's up big right now. Here's a big game for you. That being Saginaw Valley, Winona State. The Cardinals are up right now, 34-24. A lot of question marks around that GLIAC team. They've been kind of a second tier with that Davenport trying to, break that top part of the GLIAC. That would be a really big win for them for that NSIC opponent against Winona. Otherwise, though, Ouachita Baptist. Go ahead, sorry.
So that's definitely a pretty big matchup, like a big You know,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
that's nice to see Gliac clash. You know, so.
Yeah, a couple more big ones here. Wayne State right now in the second quarter's up on MSU Moorhead, 17-10. And then Angelo State's putting a whooping on West Alabama, 38-14. That is an exciting one. And finally, West Georgia up on Limestone, 21-18 at the moment. Ferris State at the half, 28-12 versus Mercyhurst. That was a game that I thought might be decided by this point in the game. Mercyhurst, is hanging around. One of the bottom teams of, I believe, is that PSAC?
I mean, that's a two-score game at halftime, 28-12. It's two touchdowns, two-point conversions. So.
And this might be the most surprising score of the day, actually. Northwest Missouri, the fifth-ranked team in the country, is actually losing against Missouri Southern, their rival in conference in the MIAA. They're down 24-17 in the third quarter.
Ooh.
That could shake out to be an interesting one.
On that one.
Yeah, Pittsburgh State's up 13-0 on Washburn. And, kind of some other stuff, but nothing too notable. We've discussed most of them. Minnesota Duluth obviously picked up a big win over our Cats, our Northern Michigan boys. Their quarterback, man. Blanking on the name off the rip, but I'm going to pull up his.
Wall Jasper.
There you go. He has had a freaking day, dude. You were watching that one. What did you see from him?
These guys out there making plays. You just got to tip the cap. Obviously, it's tough to see the Cats lose, but Wall Jasper's a hell of a player, and I look forward to seeing him play the rest of the year. So
that's what I'm saying, dude. This is just like a kind of a sneak peek of what we're gonna get from him. I'm definitely excited to see what goes on here in the next couple weeks for the Bulldogs. And I'm trying to pull up here. I'll get some stats for us to talk about a little bit more. And the Duluth just filled up the stat book on this one. They finished with 350 rushing yards, which is just tough. And a lot of those coming from the quarterback position, which is really impressive. Absolutely. He finished with 138 rushing yards, and then on top of that, threw for another 80. So, obviously was pulled a little bit into that one. So, big time game for him. We can kind of switch gears a little bit, though. I wanted to talk some previews of some games this weekend and the more normal scheduled ones. I think some of the ones that kind of jump off the list is more premier matchups. We've got Ohio Dominican at Notre Dame. That should be a really good contest. Notre Dame, they bring back the best defense last year statistically in the MEC. They averaged only letting up 15 points per game in 2022. So excited to see what they do against what should be a pretty solid ODU offense. Their starting quarterback, Jake Bird, is back. He threw for 2,600 yards last year, but he lost his top two targets out on the edge. They both graduated, so they lose both those guys. So that would be kind of a test of, is my best better than your best? Their defense against what should be a decently high-powered offense. Otherwise, Kutztown is at Assumption. Kutztown looking to make a name for themselves in the PSAC this year, going up against the best presumably in the NE10, them or Grand Haven, but at Assumption, that one will be interesting. And then finally, Hillsdale opens at number 21, Indianapolis. The Greyhounds have been, I think, kind of up and down. Their seasons have been roller coasters in the past, have shown a lot of promise, so that one could be very interesting as well. But anything else you want to touch on with D2? I know we'll probably circle back and talk about the Mines GV potentially in a little bit.
No, I mean, obviously, I'm really excited to see UIndy play. I mean, they're always very competitive in Division II, coming in here ranked at number 21. Hosting Hillsdale, I know Hillsdale obviously lost their couple pretty big receivers for them. So, I think UIndy comes in there, or UIndy, obviously shows up on ready to play. So I think they're gonna have a nice.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. One final score I guess I'll give you is a final. Minnesota State Mankato, number 7 team in the country. They handle business against in-conference opponent Sioux Falls, 54-26. That offense was humming for the Mavericks. That's going to be a dangerous team out of the NSIC. I mean, if you looked at it today, obviously Duluth had a great showing, but Minnesota State and Bemidji State, those squads are primed to be pretty dangerous, especially just looking at the offensive numbers and sheer output that those squads have. The new update, the final score, Wayne State ends up getting the win over Moorhead, 31-23.
That's a battle. That's quite a battle.
Yeah, that is a good one. Frostburg State and New Haven actually went into overtime. Frostburg State over the Chargers from New Haven, 27-24. That's another final. I'll just try and throw a couple updates in there.
Overtime in game one, man.
That'd be pretty exciting, dude.
That's something. That's quite a way to start your season right there.
Pretty sweet, dude. Yeah, so I'm sure we'll circle around and talk a little bit more about that. But did you want to get us started on the D3 side of things?
Yeah, we'll kick it off here.
Let's
So
do it.
my one of the first games I had circled. I think we already talked about this one back in like March or whatever it was. But Mary Hardin Baylor heads over to University of Wisconsin River Falls, and that's obviously a huge game for the Division Three. Look for River Falls to have a pretty strong secondary and a really high tempo, no huddle offense. They have quite an interesting style of play over there. They're go, 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 and I obviously really like that a lot.
If I'm not mistaken, they go by the Top Gun. It's like the hashtag Top Gun offense over there, right?
Yep,
That's pretty
they're
badass.
fast paced. They got tempo over there for sure.
That's dope.
And then obviously Mary Hardin Baylor, just the epitome of consistency. I saw here on D3football.com they've lost one game in conference since 2010. You know, that's all you really need to know about this program. And then look for Jerry Day Jr. to have a pretty big year this year. He had 726 yards and 7 touchdowns last year for Mary Hardin Baylor. So,
yeah.
And then obviously, but Mary Hardin Baylor also knows that Hardin Simmons is right there. You know what I mean? So
that's what I want to talk about. In that, it's the A. Is it the ASUN conference?
I believe so. Yeah, they got Hardin Simmons is going to have a heck of a season this year. So
they are, and it's been a minute since they've knocked UMHB off of kind of the top rung there. I know those guys are hungry for it, so that was what I know what I wanted to add because that matchup, I'll have to figure out while you keep going here. I'll figure out when that matchup is slated for. That's going to be one that's circled on I think everyone's calendar.
Yeah, that'll definitely be covered by D1R at some point.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
Yeah. But moving over here to this second game, we got Delaware Valley ranked number 10 at number 17 Cortland, sunny Cortland. Obviously, Delaware Valley, East Coast powerhouse, undefeated in conference since 2017. I thought that was a pretty wild stat as well.
Yeah.
To play in a conference like that and not lose for 6 years in conference. Yeah. Just talk about dominance. I mean, that's just incredible. And then Cortland, they actually have their Hall of Fame weekend for week 1 here. They're going to conduct their Hall of Fame. But that was a nice little thing to throw in there. And then they're coming off of a 45 points per game last year, 2022. So they can fill up the stat sheet as well. So that'll be an interesting game, and I think that'll be a lot of eyes on that one.
Yeah, it's the ASC conference, so excuse me for butchering that one just a second ago. But looking at UMHB's schedule, and I know we've talked about this a little bit, but they open with 3 nationally ranked opponents. River Falls is the first of 3 at number 23 in the polls. They go to Trinity, Texas, who's the number 4 team currently slated in the country next week, and then the week after they host Whitewater. Talk about an opening gauntlet. Wow. That is ridiculous from them, but that's the type of scheduling you see from a team that knows their strength of their roster and the guys they have in that locker room. The game against Hardin Simmons is slated for October 28th. That would be week 8.
Yeah, that'll be a massive game.
Right now, I mean, if nothing changes, Hardin Simmons is ranked number 8 in the country currently. That is going to be a hell of a contest.
Yeah. For sure, and especially obviously it's a huge rivalry too. That just adds even more fuel to the excitement of it all too. So, and then moving on down here to obviously another big one. Whitewater heads over to John Carroll. That's another top 25 matchup. Whitewater's 11 and Carroll's at 17 here. But Whitewater coming off an 8-3 year. For Whitewater standards, it's probably not necessarily where they want to be. Considering they won 5 or 6 national championships in the last decade. I mean. But obviously, new head coach this year, Jace Rindle. Look for them to have a pretty solid season this year. That John Carroll too, though, they're coming off of an 8-2 year. Joe Collins will be returning as the starting quarterback. He had 26 passing touchdowns and over 2,200 yards through the air last year. So look for him to have a pretty solid year this year as well.
I remember I was listening to someone talk about that and imagine you're the new head coach over there at John Carroll. I wonder if he knew when he was getting the job that your opener would be against the UW Whitewater. That's going to be that's got to be something. I would love to have seen when he got that news. Yeah. You know what I mean? That'll be your game 1.
Yeah, for sure. But that's funny. There's 2 first-year head coaches then, if that lines up then, because Rindle is the first-year head coach at Whitewater. Did you hear there's a new coach at John Carroll as well?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's a new head coach over there.
Wow.
So
well, two rookie coaches.
I believe so. I can fact check myself as you keep going, but I want to say so.
Okay, that's something else right there. But and then here our fourth Division III matchup is another really big one. This is actually another top 10 matchup. Number 4 Trinity takes on number 6 St. John's. So that should be another big one. I think this is the matchup of the week in my eyes. I had it here on my notes. Two well-oiled machines. I mean, they're two top 6 programs. I mean,
Yeah.
not much else to really say about that. So my headliner for this one was an immovable object beats an unstoppable force.
I love that.
Trinity gave up 11 points a game last year. 11 points per game. That's just a stone wall of a defense.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and St. John's scored 41 points per game last year. So ends are going to meet somewhere. I mean, this is going to be a hell of a matchup. I'm personally, as a fan of Division III football and a player in Division III football, I will be definitely keeping my eye on this game.
Yeah, that's going to be big time, dude. And I have verification here. John Carroll, their 20th head coach, he got hired back in December, this past December. His name's Jeff Behrman. Behrman, excuse me. He's a graduate, a former Blue Streak quarterback, graduated in 95. So he is back. He's coached 27 seasons in the collegiate ranks, including the past 7 years as the head coach at Union College in New York. So, yes, it will actually be a matchup of two, I won't say first-year head coaches because I just talked about his experience, but two new head coaches to their respective programs.
Yep.
Pretty sweet stuff, dude.
Yeah, that's some story. That's up right there.
Absolutely. Now I want to circle back here to some stats. Jimmy, we do have an update from Mines GV. What do we think it is?
You know, I hope GV scored because our boy Abe is playing for the Lakers. So I hope GV is getting back into the game.
You'd be incorrect.
Oh.
Mines is up 28-7 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. This game, man.
I'm throwing for a loop a little bit right now. Obviously, Mines a hell of a program, but I didn't think GV was going to be losing like that, to be honest.
I am totally with you. This has been pretty wild. Now, it was just a 2-yard rush from Landon Walker for the actual touchdown to put Mines ahead. There, I'm trying to see if there were any. It's kind of, it looks like here just chunk plays down the field. You know what I mean? 4 yards here, 19 yards, maybe a little bit larger one, 5 yards, 6 yards, a 23-yard pass.
That sounds like to me they're just kind of wearing them down, like slowly. I mean,
it does. You know what I mean? Like they're not
gain after gain. It's like it wears on our defense a little bit.
Yeah, and Mines is, Mines is a team too that like they're not usually a chunk play squad. They can do it to you, but they're a team that's going to throw the ball deep early, and they're going to do it often. And they're a team that is not afraid to take shots whatsoever. So looking at the receiving yard leaders right now, Max McLeod, number 3 for the Ore Diggers, the favorite target of Matoka. He's got 147 already tonight, Jim.
Wow.
This game is still in the third quarter.
Buck 47 in the third quarter.
Against a Grand Valley State defense that has a fantastic secondary. We've talked about them ad nauseum on here.
It's 28-7. Wow. I mean, again, here's the thing, though. The game is not over at all. I don't. I truly. I know. Like it. I mean, man. Maybe I have a little bit of GLIAC bias in me, but I mean, GV's gonna show a little bit of fight. I believe in GV.
They will.
I mean, they got to fire back. I mean, what is there? 18 minutes left in that game. They said there's 2:40 left or something.
It says 3 in the third quarter, but that might be a little outdated now.
18 minutes left to go. You got a whole 18 plus. You know, it's gonna be over.
Yeah.
Well, so.
Number 8 for them, Zach Hester. I believe he's a defensive end. He's had a big night for Mines, so getting in a lot of tackles. Was in on a sack earlier. He seems to be like kind of the heart and soul, at least a part of that defense. Because I know I was watching the game before I came down here to start recording this, and that was something I noticed right off the bat. Is number 8, wherever the ball was, you could find 8 like relatively close by, which was very sweet to see. Not a lot of other things to report here, I don't believe, but I guess we'll kind of see how that one shakes up. Going back through, I wanted to see if we get any updates on some Division II scores before we wrapped up here. And not really seeing too much.
Hey, what's the score of the Florida-Utah game, by chance? You know?
That is a great question.
I was watching Florida-Utah, and then I realized, I'm like, oh my God, like Northern's playing and Tyshawn's playing, so I gotta get my priorities right. So dialed up the Youngstown State game for a little bit, watched a little bit of the Northern game. So.
Gotcha.
Hey, our boy Tyshawn having a huge game for the Youngstown State Penguins.
He is. I didn't realize they were playing Valpo.
Yeah, I just saw that too. I was sweet.
I got a couple for you here. So Central Oklahoma is currently up on Nebraska Kearney 17-14. Nebraska Kearney picked definitely a little bit higher than them in the MIAA preseason ranking, so that would be a quality win for, I'm blanking on their mascot name, but for UCO over there. And then Northwest Missouri State has actually tied things up at 24 versus their rival Missouri Southern, which will definitely turn out to be an interesting contest. Washburn scored a touchdown, so now that Pittsburgh State game, 13-7. Pittsburgh State is currently number 3 in the country against MIAA opponent Washburn. They're giving them a good everything they can handle over there. It's in the third quarter.
I just think Gorilla is such a sweet mascot name, though. Like,
dude, it's fantastic.
That's awesome. That's sweet.
A lot of D2s playing FCS opponents this week as well. You know, in the openers, that does tend to happen. West Virginia State is losing by 2 right now to Morehead State, and then you've got North Greenville playing Charleston Southern. You've got Central Washington and Weber State right now. Weber State's up 14-10 over Central Washington. That is a game. Western Oregon caught every bit of South Dakota State today, though. At the half, it's 42-0, SDSU.
Yeah, I mean, you got Mark Gronowski coming back to play. I mean,
yeah,
they're gonna have another hell of a year at South Dakota State. So
yeah, man. But awesome. I think that's all we've got. Unless you got anything else to add on those notes, man.
No, that's all I gotta say.
Sweet.
That's all I got.
Jimmy, appreciate you, brother. Like I said, this is kind of a weird week. We'll get into a groove here, and we get to previewing all these regularly scheduled weekend games. But I'm excited for them, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Always.
Great. I'll see you, brother. Have a good night.
All right. Hey, roll Devils.
Hell yeah.